days fighting off excessive tiredness, irritability, and concentration issues, it may be due to OSA. OSA is a serious condition where your airway partially or completely collapses during sleep, which may cause breathing interruptions and oxygen deprivation. Learn more at don'tsleeponosa.com. This information is provided by Lilly, a medicine company.
Oral health goes beyond just aesthetics. It's deeply connected to your general health and well-being. That's why preventing oral health problems before they start is so important. When you use the Colgate Total Active Prevention System, you're not just helping to prevent oral health problems like cavities and gingivitis. You're laying the groundwork for overall wellness. Colgate Total's 3-product routine includes a reformulated toothpaste, an innovative toothbrush, and a refreshing antibacterial mouthwash that all support a healthy mouth. In fact, the 3 products were designed to work together to be 15 times more effective at reducing bacteria buildup in 6 weeks, starting from week 1, compared to a non-antibacterial fluoride toothpaste and flat trim toothbrush. Take control of your oral health and get the Colgate Total Active Prevention System today so you can be dentist ready. Visit shop.colgate.com/total.
What do you do when things get tough? You don't give up. You stand your ground. If you've been diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer and have tried hormone therapy, ask your doctor about Pluvicto, lutetium Lu-177, vivitrol tetraxetan. Pluvicto is not chemotherapy. It's a different treatment that targets PSMA-positive cells. Pluvicto can be used before chemotherapy for some people. Pluvicto is a prescription treatment used to treat adults with prostate-specific membrane antigen-positive metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer, or PSMA-positive mCRPC, who have already been treated with hormone therapy and are considered appropriate to delay chemotherapy. Pluvicto involves contact with radioactivity, which may increase the risk for cancer and cause fetal harm. Drink plenty of fluids, urinate often, use contraception, and talk to your doctor about ways to reduce the risk of exposing others to radiation during and after treatment. Pluvicto can cause low levels of blood cell counts, kidney problems, and infertility. Tell your doctor if you have weakness, pale skin, shortness of breath, bleeding or bruising more easily, an infection or changes in urination. Side effects include decreased blood cell counts, tiredness, dry mouth, nausea, appetite loss, joint or back pain, and constipation. Ask your doctor about Pluvicto, because every day without cancer progression is a victory. Visit Pluvicto.com to learn more.
Now here's a highlight from Coast to Coast AM on iHeartRadio.
And welcome back. George Norrie with you. Simeon Hyde back with us. He's got a PhD, noted author and researcher, best known for his work exploring the intersection of frontiers of science, consciousness studies, anomalous phenomena. He has earned his doctorate in sociology from Washington State University, where he focused on statistics, research methods, and social change. Simeon, welcome back. How have you been?
Hey, George. Thanks for having me here tonight. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking.
Super. Looking forward to this. You looking forward to the holidays?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
How did you get involved from being an expert in statistics to crop formations, UFOs, and strange things?
George, it's a good question, and it's actually something I think about once in a while. How did it go from being a statistics teacher to these very interesting and anomalous subjects? I think it really had to do with discovering something called fractal geometry and chaos theory in graduate school. I always felt that the statistics methods that I was teaching to undergrads were kind of artificially limited by the assumptions that are built into statistical models, about linearity and causality and all that. And when I saw fractal geometry, another grad student introduced me to that. That's the study of irregular, natural-shaped objects like trees and clouds, and even radio signals and things like this, objects that are self-similar. It just showed me that nature has a different sort of logic than the type of logic that we impose on it. And that led me to the idea that maybe there are phenomena that we're not studying. And this is before I got involved with these subjects. It just led me to the idea there's something we might be missing. So when I came across these topics, I thought these could be the missing subjects that science isn't actually looking at.
You've got at least 4 books out right now on these topics, don't you?
Yes, I do. And I'm really pleased that I finally came out with an audio version of my first book, Opening Minds, about RV and crop circles that back when I wrote it in 2002, there were no downloadable ebooks, at least not in the form they are now. I mean, audiobooks. So just a couple weeks ago, I finished turning that into a self-narrated audiobook, which is now up on Audible. Yep.
What have you concluded about crop circles, Simeon?
Crop circles were one of the most interesting discoveries in looking at all these subjects, because I went over to the UK initially in 1997. I met someone who was giving crop circle tours, a guy named Ron Russell from the Denver area. And I went over there with an open mind. I had gotten interested in the idea of crop circles from remote viewing. It was an RV target that I had done, and coming out of graduate school, I didn't even know what the word crop circles was. So once I did this RV target, I just wanted to get some feedback on it. I went over with Ron on his tour, and I could see within a couple days that there were very strange electromagnetic effects around these crop circles. We would go into them, and it would cause strange effects on your cameras, batteries, electronics, and so forth. You would talk to people, they had experienced this too. Even professional film crews like BBC, National Geographic had experienced this. So that really showed me that there was something to the symmetry and the mathematical precision of some of the crop circles that created very hard to explain electromagnetic effects. And by the way, the listeners can see that on the link that Lex put up in the bio section there. They can go and look at some of the weird things that I've recorded in crop circles, of other people's cameras and batteries and things failing.
Did the crop circles start in Britain?
That's where it's a good question, George. We associate it with Britain. If you look at that book by Colin Wilson, The Secret History of Crop Circles, he goes back to the ancient accounts of crop circles. They're accounts in biblical stories of strange markings in the fields, which we think may have referred to crop circles. So they have appeared in different places over the millennia, actually. It's just in modern times they were sort of rediscovered, it seems, in the UK.
In a big way, too, right?
Yeah, in a big way. And the thing is, these accounts of crop circles, there are different sources of them, and they have been seen around UFOs for decades and decades. And they've also been seen around mysterious lights, orbs, ball lightning, and so forth. Strange weather patterns. And then more recently, at least in my view, in the 80s and 90s, people got involved and started making their own sort of patterns to kind of duplicate what they were seeing out there. But in our experience going back there, and I kept going back year after year, first with Ron, and then I started giving my own tours over there, is that even the man-made ones recreated some of these strange effects. We eventually started paying farmers to use their fields to make experimental circles, which we would say were experimental. We would tell everyone we were making these, and we still found that our photos turned out blurry, devices stopped working, and so forth. So it's definitely something about the electrostatic charge in vortex type shapes in fields that seems to play really in a kind of a nasty way with modern electronics. It seems to short it out in some way, like create another sort of space-time field where the ordinary principles of electronics, which, by the way, George, I was familiar with having built as a kid, building Radio Shack and Heathkit kits, right? Yeah, I was familiar with electronics just from assembling kits like that. I knew that normally you wouldn't see things shorting out like that, batteries discharging instantly. So there was something about crop circles that seemed like what some people call a conditioned space, where the ordinary rules of electricity and magnetism and even time, it didn't seem to play out the same way as in ordinary spaces, just even in the surrounding field.
Did people feel strange in the middle of crop formations?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. They really do have a certain flavor to them that you can feel. It's like a resonance. And some of them make you feel kind of really upbeat and giddy and playful. And others that you go into kind of like are downers, you know, they just make you feel a little strange and you don't stay very long in those ones. So I would imagine that something about those patterns has an energetic effect on us that we really don't understand yet, but you can just sort of intuitively sense that some of them are really fun to be in and you stay there for a long time. Yeah, George, you can even see this when people bring their pets into crop circles. Sometimes you'll just see like the dogs like running and running around the circle in a certain direction. So it even seems like the dogs can feel that too in some of them.
Are we still getting crop formations around the world?
There, in my experience, there are not as many as there were before. Certainly, when I got involved in the late 90s, they had already been going on for a while. And when I was over in the UK a lot in that time period during the 90s and then the next decade and going forward, they would be clustered around the Wiltshire area. I think there may be some of them around, but they seem to have spread out, so they weren't quite as easy to find as they were, at least for me in the earlier days.
In your opinion, Simeon, what do you think they're for?
I'm not sure that they have a function or a purpose the way we think about it, but they do seem to make us think about natural landscapes, patterns, shapes, how, you know, they occur in agricultural fields, which we create, which humans create. So they make you think about the whole technological structure. And if there's some sort of underlying intelligence that we're sort of going over with our evenly planted, you know, wheat stalks with those seed planters that plant them in a very regular way. And all of a sudden you've got this pattern there, whether it occurs naturally or whether people have made it, that seems to release some sort of energy. It's almost, George, as if there's some sort of latent process going on that you don't see until the pattern's there. So it just reminds you that nature has its own sort of inherent intelligence that we may not be looking at all the time.
So let me get this straight. Your company has data here, there, and everywhere. But your AI can't use the data because it's here, there, and everywhere. Seems like something's missing. Every business has unique data. IBM helps your AI access your data wherever it lives to change how you do business. Let's create smarter business. IBM.
This is Sophie Cunningham from Show Me Something. Do you know the symptoms of moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, in adults with obesity? They may be happening to you without you knowing. If anyone has ever said you snore loudly, or if you spend your days fighting off excessive tiredness, irritability, and concentration issues, it may be due to OSA. OSA is a serious condition where your airway partially or completely collapses during sleep, which may cause breathing interruptions and oxygen deprivation. Learn more at Don'tSleep on OSA.com. This information is provided by Lilly, a medicine company.
This is Matt Rogers from Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang.
This is Bowen Yang from Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang.
Hey, Bowen, it's gift season.
Ugh, stressing me out. Why are the people I love so hard to shop for?
Like me.
Exactly.
Honey, I'm easy. But you're right. Holiday gifting is stressful.
And all the gift guides out there are boring and uninspired.
Wait, what about the guide we made?
In partnership with Marshalls, where premium gifts mean incredible more. For the dad who likes golf list, I'm out.
Right. How about something for the people who actually surprise you?
With categories like best gifts for the mom whose idea of a sensible walking shoe is a stiletto. Psst, she wants a pair of stilettos.
Or best gifts for me that were so thoughtful I really shouldn't have.
Time to see what those are.
And you won't believe their prices.
Just wait till you see what else is in there. It's basically a one-stop shop for everyone you know.
I started bookmarking half the list for myself, honestly.
This is the guide for the 2025 holiday gifting season.
Check out the guide on Marshalls.com.
It's
giving gifts.
Gift the good stuff at Marshalls.
10 athletes will face the toughest job interview in fitness that will push past physical and mental breaking points. You are the fittest of the fit. Only one of you will leave here with an iFit contract for $250,000.
This is when mindset comes in. are running it back with even bigger moments and bigger stakes. Don't miss as Paige Beckers, Evisa Collier, Kelsey Plum, Brianna Stewart, and more take the court and redefine the game. This isn't your regular season. This is Unrivaled, where the pace is faster, the energy is higher, and every athlete shines. Unrivaled Basketball, Season 2, sponsored by Samsung Galaxy, tips off January 5th on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max.
Yeah, but several years ago, you wrote a book called Dark Matter, Monsters, Cryptids, Ball Lightning, and the Science of Secret Life Forms.
Yeah, George, one of the biggest shocks to me, I was teaching, since the 90s, I was teaching remote viewing in Boulder, Colorado, and a number of my students over the years told me about their Bigfoot encounters in the Rockies and the foothills, and that area got me interested in it. I started to go to conferences and so forth. One of the biggest surprises to me, George, was finding out that there was a crop circle Bigfoot connection, just in the sense that people who had been around Bigfoot also experienced the same type of camera and battery failure and electronics failure and failure to their automobiles that people had seen in and around crop circles. You can see this in Dave Paulides' new movie, American Sasquatch, that just came out, or the previous movie, A Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot, where people talk about these strange effects of these creatures and cryptids on their camera. So for me, that was just a connection right there, is there has to be some sort of similarity between these phenomena if they're affecting our devices in the same anomalous way.
Is it that traumatic, Simeon?
It is that dramatic. When I've talked to people who've had these Bigfoot encounters, they not only would they say they felt this sort of mental confusion, like they didn't even know where they were anymore, they couldn't even find their cars. They would tell me that their iPhones or whatever camera they were using drained instantly, and that's exactly what we saw in the crop circles. So there must be, and I could be wrong about this, people could have other explanations, but there must be some sort of similar alternative type of Maxwellian electromagnetics going on there to make batteries and electronics just kind of short out like that. And again, you can go to this playlist that Lex put up. You can see how quickly this affects people's cameras. Don't take my word for it. You can watch these videos on my YouTube playlist of crop circle weirdness to see it, for yourself. And people have been around Bigfoot, George, and you can see it in the two movies that I just mentioned, say the same thing happens. Plus, you also get the orbs, the balls of light, this sort of space-time distortion. So there, in my view, George, a lot of what we call paranormal phenomena might have the same sort of underlying structure underneath it if we get to it a little bit.
Simeon, do these effects eventually wear off and go away, or do they still stay out there?
That's a good question. Often I talk to people who had that camera failure in some of these crop circles in the UK, and I wanted to follow up with them about exactly what you're saying. Did their cameras recover? For some people, and I remember seeing this in my own cameras and batteries, sometimes they would come back to life like a day or two later, but I spoke to people that said that it might take a couple months of leaving the camera in a drawer or something, or their phone, and then it started working again properly. And you get that same sort of response, not only around Bigfoot, cryptids, but ghosts, haunted sites, right? UFOs, extraterrestrial types of contact, again, which leads me to think that we're dealing with a sort of similar type of electromagnetic effects, where the laws of electromagnetics in that particular area are just so radically different than what we're used to. The permeability of space, and the magnetic and electric constants could have changed, that it takes a while for those devices again to adjust to the usual conditions that they're created in.
Does anything happen to the people who go in these circles health-wise, either positive or negative?
George, there were a lot of cases, I remember these, especially from the 90s, where people felt that they had been healed by going into crop circles. They felt that they had an illness when they went in, and they felt that it made them better after having been in the circle. I mean, I can't validate that, myself. I'm not a doctor or anything, so I can't medically say what happened, but that's what people report having happened to them. And occasionally you go in some that made you feel a little ill for a little while. But, on the bigger way of looking at it, George, it affects people in terms of how they see reality. Myself included, you start questioning, might not have questioned before, and looking into math and shapes and geometry and how that fits into landscapes and so forth. So it can kind of have a lasting effect on your mental your outlook on reality, your paradigm that you kind of are looking at things from.
By being in a crop formation, does anything happen in terms of time with people? Do they seem like they're in another parallel dimension or anything like that?
Yeah, I wrote about that in Dark Matter Monsters. I wrote about a case. This actually was from Ron Russell. He had an experience where he was in a circle with a whole bunch of other folks in the Avebury area in Wiltshire. Avebury Village, within that Avebury Stone Circle. He went out to get some batteries in his car, and he felt like he had been gone for maybe 45 minutes. He also encountered people speaking an older type of English, dressed in a different type of garb. But anyway, when he got back, the people in the group said he had only been gone for 5 minutes, but he felt like he had a weird sort of what we call a time shift. So it does seem associated with those same sort of time shifts that people have around UFOs, sometimes around Bigfoot and other cryptids, again, making you think that there's some sort of commonality between those phenomena. But one more thing, George, just to mention about that. The effects of these phenomena can vary a lot, obviously, on places like Skinwalker Ranch and other places. People have encountered orbs and phenomena like that seem to sometimes have a negative health effect. So it seems that there can be both positive and negative effects. I don't think we completely understand why that would happen, but there seems to be a real range of effects. But I would say mostly around the crop circles, mostly a positive effect.
Do you find that the longer somebody is in a formation, a crop circle, the more these strange things happen?
What it seems to do is open up your perception to the possibility that these things can happen. And as you know, George, that's a big part of it, is our sort of outlook. And like for someone like myself, I'm just out of graduate school. I don't know very much about any of these subjects. The more you encounter people that have had these strange experiences in crop circles, like these time shifts and experiencing orbs or small UFO, UAP type objects that are sometimes seen around the crop circle. The more you talk to people like that, the more you are open to the possibility that this could be real, and you start looking for it yourself. So there's this sort of gradual mind expanding effect, which I think allows you eventually to experience more rather than just pushing it away and just as soon as things feel a little different, immediately wanting to turn the whole experience off. You're kind of accept the fact that you're just in an area of, what you would call strangeness, for lack of a better word. And you're sort of looking for symptoms of that now rather than just kind of explaining it in a nuts and bolts way.
How long does the wheat or the corn or whatever was in the middle of the circle bounce back to its original shape?
It does. Actually, the wheat, if people didn't walk in it, the wheat, as we saw, it would eventually go back to its ordinary standing position. But as you know, people walk in it, so it kind of keeps it down, and then it sort of gets ground into the soil. There are these ghost circles that pop up because people walk in the circles. It pushes the seed heads into the soil, and then the next season, sometimes in some areas, you get sort of this phantom crop circle shape appearing just where people walked on the seed heads.
Listen to more Coast to Coast AM every weeknight at 1 a.m. Eastern, and go to coasttocoastam.com for more.
Did you know Tide has been upgraded to provide an even better clean and cold water? Tide is specifically designed to fight any stain you throw at it, even in cold. Butter? Yep. Chocolate ice cream? Sure thing. barbecue sauce? Tide's got you covered. You don't need to use warm water. Additionally, Tide Pods let you confidently fight tough stains with new Coldzyme technology. Just remember, if it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide.
This is Sophie Cunningham from Show Me Something. Do you know the symptoms of moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, in adults with obesity? They may be happening to you without you knowing. If anyone has ever said you snore loudly, or if you spend your days fighting off excessive tiredness, irritability, and concentration issues, it may be due to OSA. OSA is a serious condition where your airway partially or completely collapses during sleep, which may cause breathing interruptions and oxygen deprivation. Learn more at Don'tSleep on OSA.com. This information is provided by Lilly, a medicine company.
10 athletes will face the toughest job interview in fitness that will push past physical and mental breaking points. You are the fittest of the fit. Only one of you will leave here with an iFit contract for $250,000. This is when mindset comes in. Someone will be eliminated. Pressure is coming down.
Trainer Games on Prime Video, January 8th. Watch the trailer on TrainerGames.com.
Season 2 of Unrivaled Basketball is here, and the talent is unreal. The best women's players on the planet are running it back with even bigger moments and bigger stakes. Don't miss as Paige Beckers, Evisa Collier, Kelsey Plum, Brianna Stewart, and more take the court and redefine the game. This isn't your regular season. This is Unrivaled, where the pace is faster, the energy is higher, and every athlete shines. Unrivaled Basketball, Season 2, sponsored by Samsung Galaxy, tips off January 5th on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max.
Yo, do you know ball? Well, come prove it with a free $10 for Better Picks. Download the Better app, pick more or less on your favorite player's stats, watch the games, and win some cash. It's that simple. Must be 21 or older in the jurisdiction where Better Picks operates. Terms and conditions apply. Better Picks. Sports just got better.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human. This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
So you're telling me that the AI that's meant to make everyone's job easier to manage just adds more to manage on top of the thousands of apps the IT department already manages? Funny how that works. Any business can add AI. IBM helps you scale and manage AI to change how you do business. Let's create smarter business. IBM.
This is Sophie Cunningham from Show Me Something. Do you know the symptoms of moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, in adults with obesity? They may be happening to you without you knowing. If anyone has ever said you snore loudly, or if you spend your days fighting off excessive tiredness, irritability, and concentration issues, it may be due to OSA. OSA is a serious condition where your airway partially or completely collapses during sleep, which may cause breathing interruptions and oxygen deprivation. Learn more at Don'tSleep on OSA.com. This information is provided by Lilly, a medicine company.
10 athletes will face the toughest job interview in fitness that will push past physical and mental breaking points. You are the fittest of the fit. Only one of you will leave here with an iFit contract for $250,000. This is when mindset comes in. Someone will be eliminated. Pressure is coming down.
Trainer Games on Prime Video, January 8th. Watch the trailer on TrainerGames.com.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt, from renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year. You can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like EFTs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC. SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
A new year is on the horizon, and your 2026 savings start here. Right now, you can access the Washington Post for just $2 every 4 weeks. Head into the new year with 6 months of savings at the special intro rate. After that, it'll cost $12 every 4 weeks. Cancel anytime. You'll get unlimited access to trusted journalism that helps you understand the year ahead and the world around you. Now's the perfect time to subscribe, because great habits and great savings start together. Go to WashingtonPost.com/iHeart. That's WashingtonPost.com/iHeart and start your year informed with the Post.
Now here's a highlight from Coast to Coast AM on iHeartRadio.
Maybe I should look at this in the opposite type of way, and maybe this is not what these type of books are meant for. But what are some things I shouldn't be doing? Like, let's look at the don'ts. Do you have any advice for, hey, stay away from this type of stuff because it's not helping you?
Well, I would say don't use the book to prop up a table. I would say don't use it to warm your house and fireplace. But no, I don't have a lot of notes. This book is not designed to beat people over the head with, don't do this, do that. It's telling my story of what I've lived on and what I've lived off, and the realization that everybody has this switch in their brain, and you hear people talk about it. Sometimes it's from the podium after a game, a basketball or football game. Hey, I flipped the switch, or the switch went off, or I had an aha moment or epiphany. It's that switch in your brain and your brain itself that drives everything from there. Your brain drives your body, wherever your thoughts are, where kind of the rest of you gravitates towards. So hopefully you don't have negative thoughts and gravitate that way. But the idea is to use this switch that you have, use the energy, the passion, whatever your purpose is, positive. Because if people place, people will be less miserable, happier, and feel like getting more out of their life. They're getting their money, so to speak. So that's really the main focus there is on. I usually am, but I've had moments where I've been majorly off.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned about negative thoughts, and it reminded me of when I was taking my driver's lessons when I was, 15 or whatever it was before getting the license at 16. And one of the things they tell you is when you're driving, whatever you're looking at, you tend to veer towards. Is that what negative thoughts are like? If that's what you're paying attention to, if that's what you're thinking about, naturally you're going to veer towards it as a person. Is that what you're finding?
100%, and it's negative or positive. It works both ways. So yeah, if you're looking at something, you are going to start to shift that way. And if it's negativity that you find popping up a lot, I think a lot of people they skew to the negative. I do sometimes myself. I don't know why, it just is that way. But I almost view it like a song that pops on. You can just skip it. You can give that song a thumbs down or just literally skip that song. And so why can you not skip a thought in your brain? It's nope, not going to listen to this, and just skip it right over it. And I encourage people to do that and think about it in that way, that you don't have to listen to this stuff if you don't want to.
Mm-hmm. You know what I've noticed too, and we've learned a lot about social media in the last 5 years, especially since the congressional hearings and a lot of people raising awareness to the manipulation that goes on, particularly to young people, which is very troubling. And you start to realize that miserable has a market. So if you are having a problem with something, these social media websites, these tech companies can pick up on that, and they use that as a marketing plot point to you, as it is just one extra thing in your profile that they know they can advertise to, which is kind of a shame if you think about it, and it's unfortunate. So how can you tell if something or someone is taking advantage of you? Meaning, how can you tell that you know, that something may be holding you back that you don't know is holding you. Know that there are things out there that do have that effect on people.
Yeah, you're right about that, and it's manipulation at its finest, and it's terrible because it gets people at their lowest oftentimes. And that's another benefit of spending time with yourself. You know, you're not going to have any AI or any kind of marketing, behavioral marketing, go through your own head. I mean, do you have advertisements in your own brain? Of course not. And so you need to really unplug to know for sure that these are real thoughts that are yours and not being piped or fed in there. And that's an important thing. But, you know, I almost got rid of all my social media just before I launched the book because I was so tired of it and the thoughts that I put in my head and the things I was looking at, the things I was, you know, scrolling through. I used to tell my kids, if you find me on LinkedIn, I've reached the height of boredom and please shake me out of the state. And now I'm using LinkedIn all the time to promote the book. And it's because of that. You know, if you want to get your book out in the world or anything out in the world, you've got to get out in the world. And these days, most things are done online in the computer world, and it drives me crazy. But that's just where we're at. You know, it's like we joke around with all this AI and tech stuff. It's like, have these people not seen the Terminator and the Sky Network or whatever it was called? So we're walking right into this here, and you know, what are you going to do? But when you unplug from all this stuff, you really can find those emotions, those feelings. You know, if it's negative feelings, what do you do with that? What can you do with that? What shouldn't you do? And you usually have emotions to say, well, okay, I want to be like this, or I don't want to be like that. Like, I'll give you a short example. Like, I had an abusive father that my mom pulled us away from. And I, for whatever reason, I didn't have any training. I just decided to use that as an example of who I didn't want to be and who I, you know, wanted to be nothing like. I wanted to be the best dad I could be. And I would, like, personal plug for myself, think I've done that in my own little world here. And that's just something I went through. But I think for everyone else, go through something bad, okay, yeah, hey, no surprise, everybody does. But do you want to perpetuate that, or do you want to cut that and end that and never have that be that way again? And I was talking to my brother over Thanksgiving. You know, my father was so bad, I didn't even know so much of it because I was 2 years younger, but my brother was telling me the story about my dad started a pizza fight in the mall years ago. And I remember the pizza fight because when two grown men are throwing pizza at each other, you think you remember that. And my brother said, do you remember how that started? I said, well, like, the guy bumped into our dad, right? And he goes, no. There was this kid on crutches, and he was coming, and our dad was coming, and our dad didn't move, and subsequently the kid with crutches hits my dad's pizza, knocks it over, and he starts yelling at this kid on crutches and his parents. And then he throws the first slice. And it's just like, how could, like, it was years later, not even remembering that part of it. I was, like, embarrassed to be this guy's kid. You know, I don't know who the kid was in the mall and all that, but I'm like, oh, God, how can people be so rotten? And again, I just decided I didn't want to be like this guy at all. And I think, again, for a lot of people, you've gone through something. It could be tragic, traumatic, but you can use that as a catalyst in one way or the other, either to just be like that, you know, be like your parent in this example, or be nothing like it. And again, it's when you're aware and plugged into that moment, you can make these choices, these decisions. And I think life is a series of choices. You know, I mentioned option A versus option B. I think generally there's two broad choices of how you can take things. And I think people know what the best choice is, but it's sometimes not the easiest.
10 athletes will face the toughest job interview in fitness that will push past physical and